All right, welcome to Lunch and Learn. Hey Thor, how's it going?
Peter.
Hey,
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
And we haven't talked for a while.
We haven't.
It's been
Trips to
a few
Cancun for
few
you. I
weeks.
wish they were for me, but they're for you.
All the Cancun trips were not pleasure. I had to take my
Oh,
daughter to some appointments down there. Actually, I hate Cancun. I try to stay away from Cancun. Oh, it's a big city. It has 1 million people,
yeah. If I could,
and
if I could get to Cancun though, I could get to Playa, and then we'd be good.
that's correct.
Right,
And,
40
and if
minutes.
you wanted, you go a little farther to Tulum, which is we're dead middle between
Are you? Okay.
Playa del Carmen, dead middle between Tulum and Playa del Carmen.
Okay.
Between uh, uh, Cancun and Tulum. We're dead
Okay.
middle, and they're
Yeah.
putting
No.
a
Playa
you
is
got a
Playa
new
is the
airport that
place.
starts up in Tulum in January, so you can fly directly to Tulum here in
Oh,
about 3 months.
that's exciting. I need some reef time is all I will say. I need some scuba diving.
Now the best in the world is in Cozumel.
That's where I actually learned. I got my open water certification at 18 there. And I will say that we went back maybe 10 years ago, 12. The reef was so bleached out that I probably will not go back there. It's unfortunate.
That's pretty, back to, they fixed it.
Did they?
I can
Okay.
see Yeah, I can see Cozumel from my house, so
Yeah. Well, you should
I
be able to
can
look straight
always
across, right? That 60-mile ferry. Like,
Oh, I think it's only about
is it 20? Okay.
22 miles across.
Oh,
Yeah,
maybe I'm thinking
yeah.
hour for 60 miles. That's funny.
It's about 45 minutes to get across,
Okay.
just about. But
Well,
anyways,
I'll,
let's
I'll have
jump in
I'll have to
because
go
I got
back.
to get off. I got to pick my daughter up at school, and I'm going to have to get off right at 12:30. So
Okay, that
let's
works.
jump right into it.
All right, flipping over. So we try to get everything posted in the Lunch and Learn channel. It is a thread off of Market Talk. So I'm just going in and starting with Dr. Swing. I'll let you start this one, Thor. Pan W, Panw, and I got to switch my charts over.
All right, I know that one. It's expensive. Before I even look it up, I know it's expensive. 276. Oh wow, I just had a bump up. I hate these because when they're already making a run and they're already high. Um, yeah, these are really hard to play because it's already made a move past its all-time high. So if you had hit me up about this, I know hindsight is easy. I would have said a holdover 276 or not 276, 266 would have been the play. It's already done that.
I charted this at some point. I don't know exactly when. My guess, I mean, looking at no, well, you can't really look at trend lines. So the only time I really mark up levels on my white candle chart for tickers that I don't normally trade, which this definitely qualifies, we were at all-time highs were marked at 229. So definitely did this, let's say it was back in June of 23, and then haven't looked at it again since. So we really have our volume point of control is at 242.55. And I would be looking for a mean reversion. We've got an uptrending channel from September 26, 23, and I actually drew it to October 26. So I just gave it 1 month, but it's a nice parallel kind of set of trend lines. So I would be looking for a back test of that level in the 253 range with possibly
What
even
did you
some
just say?
wicks underneath
At
it.
what price?
Two like 252 to 255. Let's give it a range in there. So we
Yeah,
do,
man, I wonder if it's ever gonna get back there again now.
I don't know. This is what's
Yeah,
great about these recordings is we can always go back and look at them. But it is definitely a
I
channel.
mean,
I'll post what I'm looking at.
yeah, I was just gonna say it might get there, and it doesn't matter if it does or not. I mean, you're not gonna play it unless it does, and
Yeah, oh, I definitely would not touch this thing. And I wouldn't go short for sure, but I'd have to see this is a buy the dip kind of scenario. And you don't want to keep buying the dip until you get knifed. But we are at the top end of this range. So I'll post this so you can see what I'm looking at.
Um,
And this is,
if I was looking to try to get in, like if it's a long-term play that I was waiting to get in, I wouldn't buy it here, but you can draw a trend line off of, the gap down around, mid-November. Run a trend line up on the hourly and try to catch it on a bounce off the hourly. I mean, that's only if you're looking to get in because it's a stock that you're looking to, add to, or, buy it because you believe in it. That's what I would do, but I wouldn't buy it right here now today. It might get a bounce, down around 270.
and to play devil's advocate, possibly the reason that ticker was put there is, should I take profits here? And the answer is,
Oh, that too.
Yep. Get out,
Yeah.
take your money and run. I mean, yes, it could keep going up, but will you be mad if it comes back down into that 260 range, which would not be unreasonable on the weekly at all?
Yeah, or even scale out.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely don't sit on stuff. You're not married to any of that. I'm just saying. And that's presuming you're not
well,
looking at it from a long-term portfolio perspective. We're talking trading for the most part.
But it's really weird that, where it went from like 265 all the way down to 240 in just a matter of a couple of days. And then here a month later,
Right.
it's up almost $40. That's really kind of interesting. It's difficult to play a stock like that, especially when it bumped up like it did today. Cool chart. If you're in, good for you, man.
And that kind of brings to mind the difference between managing a trading
You want to do
account.
the next one, AFRM? That thing bounced today.
Oh, yeah, I'll do the next one. And this brings to mind the difference between a trading account and a long-term investment portfolio. They are managed very differently. So you want to make sure that you've got them in separate accounts, because if they're in the same account and you're used to, like learning the day trading skills, you're getting into the groove of that, all of a sudden you open Tesla and it's up 2,000%. And you're like, have to take that. In 10 years, you will be mad. Manage your long-term port differently. One of the hardest lessons I ever learned, unfortunately. All right, so AFRM, I'm going to start on the monthly. Haven't looked at this aside from the fact that I've used it a couple of times thinking, what do they do if people don't pay them? And that's a business concept instead of a trading philosophy. So volume point of control over all time is sitting at 1697, which is where we bounced. So we're currently up double over that, which is a pretty massive move looking at the monthly right now. So zooming out from a volume perspective, we have a high volume area above us at 3665. We currently put in a decent amount of volume that was not here prior to this. I'm off just a little bit. Give me a sec. That one is 30.15. I did have a low volume area marked. So anytime, yeah, I had that marked before. Okay, so we had a low volume area here in the $30 range that once we got over 24.53, just was begging to get filled up, right? So it's like you're climbing a mountain for a long time, and eventually you get to the peak, you hit the other side, and you kind of run down it because you're so happy to not be climbing the mountain. That's what these lower volume areas are. So above us, our lowest volume area above us, 34.44, is the lowest volume area until we get to like 41. So there's some pretty decent upside here. If I wasn't slightly scared of all this growth stuff coming off of the 2020 excitement and all the meme stocks, I would be more interested in this, but I can't touch this right here just from a perspective of if you're in this, you want to use these as profit targets, these volume areas. And I would say it would be very unlikely if we got above 36.65, really for us to be over 40. And that's some pretty decent upside. So even if you bought it for a long-term portfolio, my suggestion would be you probably bought it somewhere back in the $15 range, take your profits on it, in the like middle 30s and then look to re-enter somewhere around 24, 25. And so I'm going to set some triggers actually. I'm going to probably put some alarms at 20, let's call that 23 for a backtest re-entry. But I'd have to see what the weekly close is like because it is growth. We are potentially setting ourselves up for a couple years of sideways kind of trading as far as market goes, to not be selling off hard, but to also not be making new all-time highs. And growth stocks like this definitely drop kick themselves straight in that category of be careful.
Hey, I'm sitting here looking at it, and all I did was bring up a weekly because when I wish we had done this like yesterday or the day before. When we have a day like today, it's kind of hard to give a really good answer to some of these charts because they've already kind of bumped up on us. And Cedar's more, she talks more about a longer term, and I am a longer term trader, as you know, mostly, but I also trade these 2 and 3 day trades, or longer term if I get the bounces that I want.
Yeah, and Thor does a lot of swing
And
trading, a lot of commons like equity trades, where I'm a day trader and a swing trader from an options perspective. But we do have different trading
right,
styles, so we're trying to contrast, what we're looking at. But it's been kind of fascinating to see how similar a lot of our perspectives are, our levels, but we do approach them differently. So when I'm looking at these higher time frames, I'm considering, is this something I'm going to add to my long-term equity portfolio? Is this something that I'm interested in
yeah, exactly.
scaling out of?
That's what I was getting at.
And Thor's saying, I'm going to
You're
trade
talking.
this for like a week or two or a
Yeah,
month.
yeah, I'm looking at the now.
Yeah,
Cedar will let you know that, hey, look, if it comes back down, you're looking at like $24, and I'm not even looking at that. I'm looking at the now, what's in front of my face. So, I mean, whichever one of us thoughts apply to you, that's what you need to use, because Cedar and I do look at the charts pretty close to alike. We have pretty much the same idea. If we have a different idea, it's because she's looking at it and it looks like a longer term play to her, or it looks like a play that she really rather see come back.
right.
Whereas I'm looking at a chart and I want to know what it's going to do right now, not where I want to see it bounce 6 months from now, and that's what Cedar will give you. I don't.
Exactly.
Um,
And the whole idea was to contrast this to a lot of the day trading stuff that we do from a server perspective. I've traded more day trades in the last, I don't know, 3 years than I have in my entire trading career since 2002, because that's what's in front of me. That's what's working. So,
right.
trying to make sure that we're looking at things from that higher time frame perspective where you can, be looking at Thor's levels and thinking about this as a swing trade. And there are some that I will swing, but majority times I'm looking for long-term investment because I take my profits from my trading portfolios and I drop them into other investments. So that can be other businesses, it can be long-term portfolio, it can be real estate, whatever that is. But it is a different approach, and that we're trying to teach you guys it's okay to have different approaches, and maybe both of them work for you. I think we're both kind of at the point in our trading career where we're like, quick and dirty, like what works for us, what makes us money. And that's your job as a trader, is to figure that out for you. Because what works for one person might not work for the other. But yeah, it's neat to see.
In that said, I'll just add my real fast comments on Affirm. I think that if it holds above 31, that's what you need to watch. It can move up. I'm looking at a weekly, and that's what I'm seeing. But it needs to hold 31. I wouldn't get in right now. I'd wait to see it hold here, watch volume, and even possibly watch for a bounce right off of 31 if it does pull back a little bit. If it goes back under 31, I'd be exiting. And the next spot up from there is right around $39 to $40. So I mean, I like the way it looks, but you got to beware, especially since a lot of these stocks are really running up today. And I'm not convinced that anything's changed in the market. I still think that we're bearish. I just want to see what happens. really quick, when you use my levels, you can use that as far as a trading tool for whether you want to get in on a stock or not. I posted earlier that the SPY had hit within 3 cents of one of my levels, and it turned around and came right back, and it's down around 50 cents or more, right around 50 points. I'm sorry, 50 cents. And I think it's going to bounce here in the next couple of minutes, or it's going to start selling off. So watch 455, 455.75 right in here to hold. Otherwise, I think it's going to start falling back even more. And that said, let's go back to the next one.
All right, I'm gonna actually go on monthly, just for fun right now. Go on monthly and look at wicks at 32.39. So the low wick on February 1st, 2022, and the high wick on May 2nd, 2022. That's a really powerful spot. It's just above us. There is volume, low volume area up there, but it could be, you got to be real careful with those two wicks right there.
Which one are you talking about?
AFRM.
I mean, Peter?
AFRM.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
I already moved it. You.
Yeah, I had two, but then you were talking about it, so I went back and pulled up the chart. So I'll flip over. So over to you. I've definitely charted this before because I've got some levels out here on the monthly.
Yeah, I believe this is one of Kathy Wood's favorites here, isn't it?
I think so. So volume point of control has not been pulled up. It's actually been pulled down. 29.14 is actually where we're sitting right now. Kind of fascinating. So not a lot has changed for me. I'm gonna flip this over into weekly so we can get a little better view of how these were drawn. So I would still be targeting, if we have an upside bounce over 30.91, the range of 31 to 32 effectively to get up there, see what the reaction is. We have downward sloping 50 on the weekly, but we're crossing and holding over the 10 MA. So if we wanted to just use Turtle Trader's kind of philosophy on the weekly, it would be right into that target range of like 32-ish. And then I'll flip out to daily so we can just compare. Okay, so the 10 MA on the daily is actually getting really close to the 50. And if we go into, nope, it's actually crossed over. So this would be, if you wanted to use a 10 MA protocol on a daily perspective, even though I don't really like this chart on the weekly, you could go straight moving averages. If we close today over the 10 and have continuation tomorrow, so that doesn't mean you enter it today. It means you see what the close is tomorrow or coming into close, and you can just put a daily stop under the 10 moving average. Could be a pretty decent write-up targeting the 200-day, which is 33.12. I have a cardinal rule, unless there's a few times, maybe half of 1%, I will violate this, that I do not trade underneath the 200 daily moving average on things like tech stocks, growth stocks, because they can cause problems. All right, what are your thoughts? Levels.
Sorry, I was posting what I said in regular channel on SPY. I said it was going to bounce at either going to bounce or fall at 455.75, and it looks like it's falling.
Oh yeah, this is definitely not a long.
You know what? I looked at this chart. It's not ugly, but it's not like a favorite. And one of the problems I have with it, I think everybody knows I love trend lines, and it looks like it's trying to break up. But I always like to try to draw a bottom trend line for kind of a risk reward view, and I don't get a proper bottom trend line on it, so that kind of scares me. It's got one big wick down, and even if I disregard that wick and try to catch one next to it, it still doesn't really give me a proper trend line down the bottom. So, I'm not sure what I would do with this, but I think if I were to play it, I'd probably wait for it to get above that trend line that starts back in July and wait for it to bounce because it's bouncing right under it. It just now came above it. If it can close above this trend line, I'd watch it a little bit longer and hopefully some volume comes in, and I'd probably try to get in if it held 30. Otherwise, I'd stay out.
And my monthly level comes in at 29.37 and then 29.99. So I like those levels. It's not my favorite, but it has potential, especially if you're looking for something to put like 0.5% in, and you're not going to literally open that account except once a month to double check and make sure nothing's massively violated from a long-term perspective. If you're looking to add something to a portfolio and you are tech light, and that's the key thing, you're tech light. Most people are tech heavy. If you're looking for some tech, not a bad chart to add. Very small position size. You're not going crazy and, oh, she said, go do it. It has some potential, but it's not a big position. If I were looking for something, I will not be adding it to my long-term portfolios nor my kids, because I'm already decently balanced.
It's funny when you and I are looking at charts, we kind of had the same feeling when we looked at it. I mean, I looked at it and it's not ugly, but it's not like my favorite. And you pretty much said the same thing. Just looking at it right away.
Yep.
I go, well, it's not bad, but it's not, it doesn't really catch my eye, but doesn't turn my eye away either. I like to see charts that I really like before I'm going to really try and play them. So and I don't like this chart a lot.
It's not, it's definitely, it's kind of an indifferent, like coin flip kind of, if it works, that's great. And you've got your stop set.
Yeah.
I think
it's not ugly, but it's not something, it doesn't catch my eye enough to look at it again. Like,
right.
I look at charts and I glance at them. I don't do anything. There's no technicals on them, nothing. I just have them, candles and volume, and I glance at them. And that's when I decide if I want to look at it more. And this one right here doesn't like make me want to go away from it, but doesn't make me want to look at it either.
Yep.
So that means I'd probably stay away from it.
So not heavy repulsion, but also not heavy attraction.
Right.
And that comes from 30 plus years of trading. And I try to give the visuals of why that's being seen with the execution charts, with the multiple layers of volume. And I really do, I'm only showing volume as a representation of moving averages, which is a trailing indicator, and volume profile, which is not. It's where we've actually put in the volume. So if you guys are looking at my chart, that's the blue iceberg off to the side. The volume is huge at 33.97. Will we make it there? Has that been the 200-day moving average since August? Yep. Okay, Moonshot, I don't want to hurt your feelings. We're going to skip you as an analyst. With Roku, we'll come back to it if we have time, but we do only have 7 minutes. So I think we should move on to Etsy. I haven't seen that chart in a while. And we're going to try to Etsy. Like answer for members as much as we can, just because of this tighter time frame. So Miss JMB.
Yeah, Moonshot's capable anyways. I think he just wanted to get what we thought and see if he sees the same thing.
And it's always good to do that, as we're talking as a team, but I want to make sure we're getting to the members and really kind of digging into those concepts. So hold tight, Moonshot, even if it need to do it a little bit after, and that should work. All right.
Okay, Etsy. Looking at it just at a glance on a daily, I like it. That means I'd look at it further. I just wanted to, give you an idea what before I add anything to it, whether I like a chart or not. And looking at it right from the beginning, I like it. But then I would add, all my trend lines and look at the volume and see where the support resistance is. And then I'll decide if I like it more.
All right, this one I only dropped, and I do have some levels. Clearly have charted this at some point. Let's see if I can get an idea of when. Nope. I just drew one trend line, and that was from the bottom of the daily March 2020 to the next swing low. so June 2022. We're below that trend line. So I would be looking for continuation. So I'd be looking for selling somewhere around the range of 86, 87-ish, and then come down into the 42.92. So to me, this looks like a short with a little bit of more upside.
I drew a trend line from February, and it's breaking the trend line now. And my thinking is, if I were looking to get in, I don't like it enough to get in, and I can't tell you why. For some reason, I liked it enough to look at it, but now that I'm looking at a closer look of it, I don't really like it as much as I did when I first glanced at it. If I were to play it, it needs to hold above 75. It is breaking a trend line from February. And I would probably, if it comes back, I might try to hit play a bounce on that trend line, but also draw a bottom trend line from.
Then which time frame are you on right now?
I'm on the daily.
Okay, I just flipped over to daily for the first time. Maybe
draw a trend line from that February where I was talking, then drop your cursor across the top of some candles, right where it is now. Further back, and you'll see what I'm looking at. Yeah, I don't like the trend line that I can buy off the bottom or draw off the bottom either. It just doesn't interest me. I like to use trend lines off the bottom for risk reward. And the risk reward is a pretty big drop off. And there's a pretty good drop off before you can get where it looks like a good stopping point. That's not good risk reward. Yeah, I say it's got to hold above today's high. But I don't mean just today. It's got to stay there for a little bit and maybe go up past and bounce back off. But that's what I'd do if I was going to get in.
All right, I think that's what you're seeing. Will you double check that? I am not happy at all with TradingView's trend lines right now. But basically, we've got a breakout with continuation right now, potential. On pretty decent volume. I like it better on the daily. Yeah.
Yeah, you're looking, that's exactly what your chart is showing exactly what I was talking about. I see your line there, right? That's why it's got to get above that and just hold, which is basically today's.
That one still qualifies under we've got a downward sloping 200 moving average above us, 87.31.
Right now today.
Oops, I was muted. So downward sloping 200-day moving average sitting at 87.31. Still violates my rules of being able to take a long entry. And there's the difference between a speculative, potential. You could just say, okay, all right, if I'm going to take this, I'm going to look for a back test down to this downtrend line on the daily into the high 60s as a buy. But it scares me a little bit still here. I can't take this. All right, last one is NVIDIA.
Oh boy, we get this one every.
It's a lot. Week, it's not every week, but it's at least once a month.
Popular. And that one looks shortish.
Yeah, I said that last week when somebody asked me. Yep.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It looks shorty. What is it?
So for me, it looks like a classic look above and fail of the previous all-time high, which a true double top is that whole they ran your stops kind of concept. but it's because they wanted to look up and see what was up there and then start shorting. So I had originally, I think it was last week, probably was, I don't know, somewhere around Thanksgiving, either before or after, had said it looked short to me down to the 467, 468 range and posted this chart. So if you want to search in Market Talk from me with the term NVIDIA, the key term, you should be able to find it with an overall target down to 455.40 to be a back test of the downtrend, completely viable. I'm probably initiative long on swing options at that range.
Yeah, it looks shortish to me too. I mean, I without adding anything, I just go look at, I'm not trying to be lazy or anything, but it's, Cedar and I are going to say the same thing. The only thing I would say is there's a possibility that it stops at 469, kind of hangs around there for a while, and then probably falls some more. If it does hang long enough at 469, 470, it might bounce depending on market strength. But I do see some support at 469, 470. I think Cedar's right that 500 top is legit. They wanted to take it there and look around, see if it was going to generate any volume to try to take it further, and it did not. It fell back. So 500 is a key spot now for NVIDIA.
Yeah, so that puts your range at exactly.
And that's
like
about
within
it. I got to
pennies.
fly. I'm already one past. I'm waiting for my wife to walk back in, and I'm grabbing my keys and running.
Right, and go. Well, Moonshot, thank you for the extra ticker because we set this time aside to be able to teach our charting. Although it's different, we come to the same
Peter, I
levels for
think
different reasons.
You're
Oh,
muted
sorry,
again.
I am muted again. I keep trying to do that while you're talking. So, thank you to Moonshot for throwing us a ticker. He's doing that because there's been some of these recently where, we had like 3 tickers and we're like, all right, well, I guess we'll just find things to talk about. So if you guys really, if you value us going through this and kind of teaching what the charting is, how we look at things, how we're arriving at a very similar level from very different philosophies, please make sure you're giving us things to look at because it definitely helps us run through the time. And I'm going to go ahead and stay on for a little bit, and maybe even Moonshot will hop on with me to do the tail end of this with his ticker.
Hey, Cedar, it was fun. And next week, you guys, if you can get, even if you have some questions, that's cool too. I don't mind answering questions. I don't do it very often. I probably should get on voice more often, but I don't know. I never do. But I'm going to probably try and do that more often. But if you have more questions, that'd be great. I don't have a problem answering. Cedar answers them all day long, so that's for her it's nothing. But we'll answer those in lunch and learn as well. So anything you want, ask a question or ask us what we think of the chart. That's cool. We'll do it.
Yeah, and unless we're actively in a trade, because we are, actually trading our accounts, and that's one thing that I think is hard to remember is that we're trading our accounts, we're talking about what we're trading. It's hard for me if I've got 3 positions on futures, options, some swing trades to be, and I do try to be as present as I can inside Market Talk and everywhere. But if I'm actively in a 0 DTE or a day trade, tagging me in Market Talk is the fastest way. If you DM me, it might not get an answer for a little bit because I got to get into like answering members' questions inside Market Talk. So Market Talk is the answer, the name of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about SPY as I did earlier about that 455, 75 spot that if it didn't hold, it was going to fall. It needed to bounce there. And I'm posting that also in Market Chat, Market Talk. But I'm not in SPY at the moment because I was doing this thing and all that stuff happened just as we started to do it. But I saw at 456, I think 456, 456.30. There was a top. I posted that I thought there was a top. It was a level. And then at 455.75, I said it needs to hold here. It's going to fall further, and it did. And I just posted another second ago that 455 could bounce. If it doesn't, we're going to continue on down. So, when I'm talking about some of the things in the market, I'm not necessarily in, like today I couldn't. I just didn't want to be talking about other charts and then follow this. So I didn't get in. Too bad, because everything worked exactly like I said it would. But that's how it is. You don't have to trade every day. Don't have to trade every minute. I missed it.
Right.
Well.
And there will always be another trade. That's the greatest thing about the market
Yeah,
is there is so
I
much
hope
happening.
the people that were listening actually got in and made money on what I was talking about.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it looks like
All right, I got a room.
it looks like Moonshot's going to hop on with me in just a little bit to cover Roku. Roku definitely fits that 200 moving average. I just can't trade it here, so we'll see you next week, Thor. And waiting on Moonshot now, and then I'll wrap up the video. All right, thanks, Thor. See you later.
See you, Thor.
Aha.
Nice, Peter.
Handing off the torch. Here we go. So Roku is a beautiful example of, we had a failure to make a new high back September of 23, which, right, that's a seasonality thing. So when we broke over and held that on the daily, today is a continuation day of that. So I really want to see what tomorrow looks like trading wise. If we have a second green day over that 98.27, I'd be looking to see, so Wednesday, I'm watching Wednesday's close because I'm a little concerned here that we're not going to have, hold on, let me get to daily, zoomed out just a little bit. So decent amount of overhead resistance in the 110 range. So yeah. I'd be looking to kind of see what do we do here? Do we now consolidate? Because this is a capture of the 200 daily moving average on an overnight gap up. So it looks like that was an earnings gap. That was a surprise loss as far as earnings, and then revenue was a decent size beat. So we gapped up on that, which is why I always tell people not to trade earnings, because you can't really tell what could be happening. But this is kind of a scary place. This is definitely something you would set up your alerts so that TradingView just tells you when we hit those key levels, or you set yourself an alarm 15 minutes before RTH close and kind of see where we are tomorrow coming into close. Maybe it's at open and then at close again, depending on how interested you are. I am already pretty tech heavy, so I can't really touch it, but damn, I really like this chart. If we don't have selling back down into that $83 range, which could happen pretty easily.
Yeah, a lot of people that I've talked to about this one were long, or added comments at least, in the 75 to 80 range. So it's one of those, like, if you're in it at this point, then, you know, calculate your risk. Are you going to hold? I looked at the weeklies, really what got my attention here, because we're entering into a range where it's either used this as support or resistance for, let's see, I'm looking at it here from February of 22 all the way until July of 22. We're tapping the level here that was, was support. That support was broken in April, and then it was tapped on the weekly a couple times, and so now we're back at it.
Yeah, and that's where I found it, was May 3rd of 22 on the daily.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. There's a lot of, you know, everybody's got their own magic 8-ball, but I like the weekly setup here, and there's some massive, some huge volume on the weekly coming into this big pump. Let's see, back on the week of the first week in November, there's a lot of volume coming in, and even if you look at the options chains, not that you use that to, I'd say it's more confluence, but there has been, I think we even had a golden flow order, a couple orders a couple days ago, dated in January, and I think one in March too. So I think some people are very excited about the possibility of this moving up, but I agree, this 110 level is huge.
It's huge. And look at the monthly chart I just posted. So we've had some candles that size and bigger. So we really had some horrible chop in August, September, October of 2019 that was up, down, up, down. And if we look at that, we're kind of ranging into that. If you're long, my suggestion, if you're long in Roku, probably time to take a little bit of profit and look to reposition. So volume point of control all time is sitting at 63. And from a mean reversion perspective, this ticker is like that dollar amount since 2017. So there's been a huge interaction here just because we see this large candle. And this, Thor and I talk about this a lot. I literally cut this top chunk off from the 2020, 2021 euphoria. I just pretend like it's not there. Like above that, I'm like, okay, we're going to pretend like that didn't happen. Just look at all the thin volume.
Unfortunately, a lot of people that are talking Roku bought up there. And so you've got a lot of bag holders that are looking at this chart thinking, oh yeah, let's go. But you know, Cedar, when you look at that monthly, scary as it may be, that might be a right shoulder.
It could be.
It's a little. It's a little.
It's pretty extended.
But
I would be waiting to buy a dip. It's too extended for me. I mean, we're coming into, from a seasonality perspective, potentially rotation into more buying. That could be the case. I still would be looking for at least a back test, just straight off of the candle bodies at 96.39. And anything more than that would feel like a chase. And I'd have to have a, well, let me draw. Will be my first line on there. And then see what that looks like on daily.
As far as options go, I don't know if, there's not a ton of flow in Roku options, but the 100 level support looks good. The 110 level resistance could act as a nice rejection. But I think this is more of a, unless you're playing level to level and you've got your maybe a couple week out option, I would look at this more of a long term than scalping. This isn't a scalp one.
Yeah, I've definitely not traded Roku options lately, but I know the last times that I was trading it, they were not very liquid. They moved basically like a camel backwards upstairs. They were not, they were not moving how I would expect them to. So making sure that you've got enough liquidity in there.
Are pretty good.
Yeah.
But the volume's just pretty empty, especially a couple weeks out.
And there's decent spread, but that's what you want to, not having a big spread is really important. If you had the lower volume and the big spread, I would be like, don't touch that thing with options.
Right.
But you want to look at monthlies on this ticker.
I was talking to somebody this morning. They messaged me, and after I put my watch list out, the one option I'd keep an eye on right now, I am keeping an eye on, is the 100 puts for December 15. Some interesting volume there, about 1,500, but that's honestly, that's about it. There's not nothing to write home about. So anyways, it's just some interesting things that you just think about. November though, November 1st, 50 something bucks. And now we're sitting pretty over 100. That's quite a move in 1 month.
That is that 200-day moving average magic.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go. I'm going to go look. I'm logged into E-Trade now, so I can go look at options volume. So I usually suggest monthlies on these, and we'll see if that holds true. So 110s for weeklies for this Friday have a decent amount of volume. I'm not suggesting that you go buy them, because if you're not familiar with how they do move differently. Even if you're used to trading tech, they definitely do move differently. So now I'm going to flip out
and
to
I'll say this
December.
too, the weeklies calls, now that I think about it, I think those are some holders from last week. I remember watching.
I will say yes, very, very likely.
Watching that change. I don't think those are people buying. I think those are people who are getting ready to sell.
So there is,
might see some golden flow sweep soon from Roku.
Volume slightly higher than open interest. The highest volume contract for December 22s is also the 110. That confirms for me that I can't touch this until we see a little bit of contraction. Because that monthly should be pretty big. Let's go look at January.
Not much. Well, I'm looking on the put side. Let's see.
It's not exciting. Let's see.
No.
And then we flip to April. What? We don't even have February. There is nothing touchable in April. Absolutely not June. So this looks like it's shorter dated kind of stuff. So if you wanted to just, put a small position size on, it would probably be the December 110s, just not oversized. This is not a home run. This is it. I'm going to make some money if it moves. And it's got a little bit of time on it. So you've got 4 weeks where if it doesn't do it right away, you're not wrecked.
Right. Right.
Awesome.
Yep.
I'm actually
Good.
really glad we looked at this because the whole idea is verbalizing, walking through how we're looking at things differently, each of us as analysts. And that's why I was like, I'm going to wait for Moonshot, see if he can hop on because it's good to talk about all this.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Awesome.
I like it. I like it a lot.
All right. I am wrapping the recording. I am 1 minute past my drop dead zone. So I'll see you guys in voice a little bit later. I'll be back. Actually, I'll be back in about 25 minutes on voice just for regular trading. I'm probably not trading anymore today. Had some couple very nice trades this morning as far as futures go on ES, but I will be answering questions and love it when Moonshot joins me. So if you are around, it'd be awesome.
Sure. I'll step in a little while. Thanks, Cedar.
Thanks for hanging out. See you later.